Hello and welcome to Nigeria Now, where we'll be keeping you updated with all that is happening in Nigeria presently, looking at politics, policies, and then as they actually affect everybody. My name is Sarah Elisha Dasham. I'll be doing the program with Rachel Tenzi. Good afternoon, Rachel.
Afternoon, Sally.
Yes, and to our viewers, you remember you can also be part of the conversation by joining us live on Facebook and on YouTube. You can copy, comment, share with your friends so they can also know what is happening presently in the country. And we love to start with something that is actually affecting a lot of Nigerians presently, which happens to be the naira scarcity. We know it's a festive time already, that time of the season where a lot of rush hour is happening. And so definitely we are expecting, will I say, it's not really out of place for us to say there is naira scarcity. But nevertheless, we're seeing that NLC is warning the federal government that if they do not do something about this, there might be a protest. Now, Rachel, with all of this, in just in a year, we've had naira scarcity. I think about, I would say, beginning of the year, and we're also ending the year again with another naira scarcity. And just 5 days to Christmas, so a lot of rush hours is expected. But here we're having NLC complaining. I remember clearly when I said that, for us not to hear other people complaining, it seems as if it's only normal Nigerians or the masses that are actually going through this. I was saying that it's so bad to the point that even banks in the south have to actually, call their branches in the northern part of the country to send them cash because of the way things are. We're seeing POS agents have even taken advantage of it, exploiting Nigerians. Imagine you withdrawing 10,000 and then you have to pay maybe 400 naira. That is how things have become. But then a lot of expectations coming from Nigerians because Nigerians might say, beginning of the year it was worse. We didn't hear anyone else talking. Why are they talking this time around?
No, Sally, this is one of the things that I like to say. NLC always just, misplacement of priorities, left, right, center. Because, yes, obviously, it wasn't that worst. I believe why is that obvious now is because it's the festive season and then there's just a market rush. People want to buy things, and we know how big Christmas is. We're not trying to blow our trumpet, but it's that big though. And then we have been seeing this scarcity linger all through the year, because when it started in January, it was up until March, a little bit April, before there was some kind of balance, and until there was order coming from the Supreme Court, the CBN, saying, okay, this will be legal tender, both old and new notes. And that was when we start seeing some sustenance when it comes to the availability of naira in circulation. And we've heard the CBN over and over saying, well, it's hurting. But the question is, Sally, how much can an average Nigerian hoard? The average Nigeria is the majority of our population. And how much can an average Nigerian hoard? How much do we even have to hoard in the first place? It's still speculation though, but I believe that the CBN is still trying really hard to reduce the amount of naira in circulation, because we're having a forest crisis. We are having naira in circulation more than what is out there, what is circulating out, and the CBN is trying to control all of that. So yes, are they giving out as much as they should? No. And that is why we are having the ATM not having that much, and that's why we are having the POS operators not having that much, because they rely on the banks, they rely on the ATM. The difference is they just bring it closer to your doorstep, because we know ATMs are not available as they should be. In the past, we have, like, where I'm staying there, we used to have a lot of ATM dispensing, but now we just have about one. And then it has turned the whole situation that we have more POS agents striving and all of that. And when you look at it, regardless of what the CBN may say people are hoarding, they are still giving room for Nigerians to be exploited by POS agents. Why? Because banks are making profit, massive profit, out of these POS operatives also all around the country. So either way, it's whatever, whoever the CBN is pointing fingers at, it still goes back to them that you are the one responsible for making money to circulate enough in the country, and you are not. But then for NLC to say we will go on a protest, it sounds like a joke to me on a lot of level, because you didn't go on a protest in January, you didn't go in February when people were dying, vandalizing ATMs, and when life was terrible, where businesses were losing money, where people were losing their lives as a result of it. Is now that we obviously know that once December is gone, in fact, not once December, once the 25th is gone, there will be cash and there won't be this uproar anymore. And you want to go on a protest, and this is a misplacement of priority. And I just want to see the NLC obviously being more serious when it comes to things that they should tackle head on, like immediately, rather than this, because this is just for a short period of time. But I know that after this week, by next week, everything will come back to normal, because then the reason behind the scarcity at this moment is going to be done, because Nigerians know that the Supreme Court have said the old and new notes are going to coexist together. So how much can the average man hoard? That's just what I want to keep saying. How much? So regardless, I believe that the majority is because there's no money. The CBN is trying to control circulation, and then this cash crunch whatsoever doesn't call for
So
a
it looks
protest.
more like an artificial scarcity because of what is happening
It
presently.
feels that
But
way.
regardless, I just feel that if truly some people are hoarding it, I think the CBN are actually in the, I mean, right position to actually call such people to bring out the notes.
They should.
Since we already have, there's no deadline for when the old Naira notes will be fading. So just bring in the money, let everybody use, and let's have a good time.
Yes.
Now, here we're seeing that the Senate is saying the fact that in the 2024 budget, the 2024 population is not being captured. We remember about 200 billion naira already has been disbursed to the National Population Commission to be able to start working on, talking about getting ACOC staff that work with the material that are needed. And initially, the census was supposed to hold before the end of the year, but we're seeing that the year is almost coming to an end. It's already, it has come to an end. Permit me to use that, because we know that by 30th of December, reps say they will be making sure that they pass the budget into the 2024 budget. They have to pass it to bill, and then everything has to work out. But then now we're seeing that the population is not being captured. That's the National Population and Housing Census is not being captured in the 2024 budget. And the Senate feels that it is appropriate that it's being captured. But despite the fact that it's not being captured, they just have to look for a way to make sure that, this has to be captured. If not, the 200 billion naira that have already been spent will just be wasted, and then it will not be right. So it feels that the Senate have to do something to see what can they actually do, where can they actually source for funds to get and make sure that, we should be having our census, the first quarter of 2024, because it is relevant in a lot of things that need to be done with the population to help the government to know how they can be able to implement certain policies that they have already put in place. Now, I just want to hear your own view concerning what you feel about the fact that it was not being captured in the budget, and then what Senate is hoping to come up with something that definitely they need to have enough funds for the population, or to actually for the census to take place in
So it's
2024.
actually a good thing that our senators were able to see that the NPC budget for census was not captured. It is very important. However, if you remember how much the NPC was saying they need for the budget, we were looking at almost 800 billion naira. And what the federal government was able to give to them at that time was over 300 billion. That is for this very 2020, for this 2023. And we can see them saying they have spent over 200 billion, because yes, they have trained certain personnel, they have developed certain apps and materials, and there was in this year a test run for what the census will be, a little how the app will work and all of that, and resources were gone and put into this. And therefore it is very true that if we do not take the census, if we do not hold it very soon, at most the first quarter of 2024, we will be losing 200 billion, because so far money has been spent into doing it. Now we also saw where there is hope that perhaps we are going to get foreign help, because the budget was really high for the census. And then when you look at it, we've not had census in a very long time, Sele. So there's so much that needs to be covered. It's going to be thorough. Our population has increased. More of ad hoc staff, officials, personnel. More is needed to do the census, and of course, a census is bigger than an election. It is absolutely. When it comes to election, you wait for people to come and vote, but when it's census, you follow them. That is the difference. You don't tell people to come and meet you, you follow them. So by nature, it's not out of place if we are having over 300 billion spent on election. I believe that when census is asking for double or more, you look at the nature, it's not out of place. It need that kind of budget. So I'm seeing where the federal government, as it is now, we are looking at a budget for census that is going to be almost gulping the same as what was allocated to certain sectors when it comes to our 2024 proposed budget. And if you look at it, if the federal government of Nigeria say we are going to sponsor budget, and census, we are going to look at this 30 trillion naira is going to be more than that, and it means more deficit for us, it means more borrowing. So at this point, because they are saying they will figure a way out of finding the funding, as uncomfortable as that might sound, because it leaves the census in the position of whether or not it will happen, because just saying we'll source for the funding is not good enough. What if you don't get the funding? But for the census, I'm looking forward to where we will find international aid, and we should take it seriously, because the longer it stays, the more that 200 billion is wasting. It's almost like we have to start something afresh and all of that. So let the Nigerian government do whatever it takes. Like, this is one of those things that we need it, because the world is also waiting for our population. We are waiting for our population. A lot of statistics, a lot of things need to be done in Nigeria, and we are just at the mercy of estimating whether we are this or we are that, and we don't know it. So whatever, but I think we can solely depend. That's the way forward. If not, just mean more deficit for us in our budget to just source for aids and funds, not loans this time around from World Bank or any other country, but aids and funding for the census. Yes.
We've said it a number of times that we cannot overemphasize the importance of holding the census in the country. I mean, the last time that was like 2006 or so. So you can imagine how many births, deaths, and immigrants. A lot of things need to be taken into cognizance during the census, and that's why it's important. We're talking about over 24 million, poverty rate has increased, and then all of these are just more like speculations, because we really cannot tell our number as it is present in our population. So we hope that will help, because even with the election, with the census, we'll be able to tell how many people, because we remember when we're talking about the cleaning of the register of INEC, because number of people have died, and then their names are still captured there. So that will also help in transparency in a lot of ways. We're also talking about even the humanitarian affairs. She definitely needs the population to know how many people, when you are trying to capture a number of things and then all of that. So we hope to see that beyond it being just words, we're hoping to see more measures. So I'm hoping to say that this should be part of the bill, that Senate should not just bypass it, but should sit down and make sure that enough funds is actually being provided. Just like you said, we would need aids actually to be able to carry this, because it's really, really a huge amount of money. Now, we cannot close the show without having a follow-up, because you and I have been talking about the issues in Rivers, and it is important that we keep our viewers updated with all that is happening. Now, we're seeing that Fubara is actually committed to peace. And he said this during the convocation that actually happened recently in his state, where about a number of medical graduates were being graduated, and then he made mention of the fact that he's increasing the scholarship of medical students from 100 to 150, and he mentioned the fact that no price is too big to pay for peace. No matter what it would take him, he will maintain peace. And we're seeing a number of reactions is coming from that statement, because a number of people are asking what actually happened, in as much as you mentioned this during the convocation, but people are linking it to the fact that this was shortly after you just signed a peace accord in Abuja. And a number of people were saying that just yesterday the elder statesmen in the state are not comfortable with it. We're seeing that just recently today, lawmakers, those other lawmakers that were being asked to go back have actually said and said that there's no longer going to be an impeachment concerning the governor. Now, questions are asking, what actually happened behind closed doors that Nigerians are not aware of? Because it looks more like he actually signed something that he was not aware of, and then a number of people will be affected. Are you trying to say that you will sign anything for peace at the detriment of the indigents of River State? Are you sure that the step you are taking will actually benefit them eventually? What actually happened that you said no price is too big for you to pay for peace? What is the price you are talking about? A number of reactions are coming, and people are actually questioning that word, because he made that statement just after saying a lot of things in his speech, and then he capped it off by saying no price is too big to pay for peace in Rivers. So you know the way Nigerians are, and then shortly just after that, a number of people will definitely have to question what actually happened to the governor, because he seems not to know his place as a governor, and then he allowed anything that would just come to just bypass. That is from his speech, what he said during the convocation.
Sele, that's why it's a closed door meeting, because in the end is what you're being told happen in the meeting is what you have to work with. Any other thing you don't know. Okay, so that's why it was a closed door meeting, and all we have presented to us is the agreement, the 8-point agreement, and all of that. And just from that agreement, we already know that that meeting or whatsoever wasn't solution driven in any way. And we have said that over and over, and since Rivers just happened to be making the headlines throughout this week so far, we just have to keep talking about it. And then we can't say anything different rather than saying we need the solution for Rivers State, not agreements that are not solution based. Because for the governor to say as in peace at all costs, he would do whatever it takes for peace. First of all, agreeing to such an agreement in the first place is already a sacrifice, because it doesn't make sense. You need your majority in your house. How are you having over 25 members being defected to a party, an opposition party, and you are a PDP governor, for example, and we know how the house runs? I'm already seeing a system that will not favor the governor eventually. Because now you are having people, majority of people in your cabinet as your opposition. Either way. So yes, he's already making a sacrifice for peace to reign, even by the looking of this agreement. That's what it says. Now, we look at the commissioners. They go through the house. They are being approved. And we know that loyalty is the drive in Nigerian government and politics. It's not patriotism that is sad. And it will be the same thing. What if you bring back those leads and they start rejecting? I'm just seeing a government where Fubara will have it difficult because he has his opposition as a majority in his house. And then it doesn't feel right anywhere. And that is no wonder elder statement will say it's unconstitutional. When do we start having pre-peace agreement being signed and some biased, one-sided agreement points for the government and it's being signed? I mean, where is that done? And is that even the solution to the current problem? Because when you look at the problem, they are supposed to be solved at different level. And then that is when a solution will come to place. But you can't just join problems that are occurring at different level that it's supposed to be solved by this, by that, and by this, for example, and then you just put them together and say, okay, sign this, you have to live in peace and agree, because that's what is happening in Rivers. And for now, though, how long? I mean, Fubara just stepped into power. How long? You understand? For now, maybe, yes, let peace reign. But how long will you as a governor be able to run your state under such circumstances? And that is the question. And I believe that that is what we are all waiting to see. How long will you be able to compromise for this peace to actually reign in Rivers State?
You know, it's really just like you said, how long? That is the question right now, and how long this peace is going to last, because we see Falana complaining it's not constitutional. Robert Clark is complaining. Elder Statesmen are complaining. In fact, they're insisting that there must be a by-election in that state for those vacancies, because if you look at what is happening constitutionally, there are things that should be done. But then it seems as if, with the way things are happening in Nigeria, I mean, you begin to wonder if we truly even have a constitution that guides us as a country, because everybody just choose to do what he or she feels like doing, as far as it looks okay. If it looks morally right to you, you just go ahead and do it, regardless of what the rule of law says about certain things. But I think, in as much as a lot of people are respecting him for, saying the fact that peace is important, but I think that when you want to bring peace to the state, I will keep emphasizing the fact that you need to check the underlying issue. Because it's more like you saying, let's have a talk with terrorists, and then after the talk, and then you don't get their ammunition, you don't get anything, you don't arrest the financiers, you just say, let there be peace, and then they say, okay, let there be peace. And when they go back, they still have people financing them, and then things will still go on. So I'm hoping that beyond this, I mean, it's important that if we are saying that the lawmakers have withdrawn their impeachment notice, which is very commendable, part of the thing that was on that notice for them to withdraw it, they will be getting their salary for December. I mean, you can't expect lawmakers to go home without the December bonus and all of that. But then we hope that beyond that, January is coming very soon. Now we are just hoping to see governance in Rivers State, because I keep saying the fact that if peace is not being restored there, we are going to be seeing where oil is going to be affected, which happens to be the only thing, as far as I'm concerned, that we depend on this country.
Yes.
And it's a very important state to us. And then a number of things, the peace, where we see various indigenous people feeling as if they want to be sidelined and all of that. So we are hoping that, I mean, we'll see our traditional leaders also adding up to their voice to the fact that things need to be done rightly. And then if anybody is not doing the right thing, regardless of what your position is, you will be brought down and then talked to, so that you know what peace is important. It shouldn't be by one side that Fubara wants peace, and then on the other side we see that the other people do not want peace. So peace will not be restored to the state. So we are hoping to see that both parties will know that, what peace should be given. It shouldn't be only the governor that will sacrifice for peace. Let us also see Wike sacrificing for peace. Let us see the lawmakers sacrificing for peace. Let everybody sacrifice, so there will be peace in Rivers State. Well, Rachel, I think that's how far we can go in the program. Thank you for doing this with me.
You're welcome.
Thank you also to our viewers, our supporters. Thank you for keeping it in with us on Nigeria. Now, not to be con again, to have a blessed